Hi everyone, my name is Felipe Bolaños, and today I'm here to talk to you about how me and my team solved the problem situation for the class of Cyberphysical Systems. So basically, what we had to do was to choose a workstation, whichever we wanted, and to see how we could improve it or enhance its operations through a technology of Industry 4.0. In our case, we chose the workstation of Tech Services, which is an organism in the Tecnológico Monterrey University that basically counsels and gives advice to students on any questions or doubts they have. So the first step that we executed to solve our problem station was to define which is the process that is followed in tech services step by step to attend students. To do this task, we help ourselves by using some mapping tools. For example, as we can observe over here, we did a process flow map which shows the step by step that is followed in this workstation. In this case, for tech services, the process is very simple. It is constituted by six main steps, which are the student just has to arrive there and wait in the line. Then he has to chat with a receptionist who will assign him a number that it represents his turn. Then he has to wait some time, and after this time, he will be attended by an agent of a specific area. And in the case he is directed to a wrong area, he has to execute the process from the beginning. After that, we apply certain quality and productivity tools in order to assess and diagnose the current state of the process. As we can observe over here, we did a time study for the process. For this time study, we divided the process in 4 main steps, which are the ones that take most of the time in the process of attention in tech services. The main finding that we obtained over here was that the wait for return step accounts for almost 60% of the process total time. This combined with the process flow map that we showed you earlier was helpful for us to identify the main issues and areas of opportunity where we can implement a change in order to enhance and improve the workstation processes. Also, from this time study, we obtained the average and standard times of the process of attention in tech services, which also led us to a conclusion in terms of the competitiveness of this workstation or workplace, and is that it isn't really competitive considering that its process of attention takes between half an hour and 1 hour, which is really slow, and thus considering also their mission, which is to give an effective and efficient service to Tecnológica Monterrey students, they are achieving this goal, but not completely because their process is really slow and isn't of the best quality. So now moving on to the technologies from Industry 4.0 that we propose are incorporated in the process of the workstation. There are 2 main technologies that we propose to implement in tech services. The first one of them is artificial intelligence, which we plan to incorporate through a personalized chatbot, and the second one is the industrial Internet of Things. In the next slides, I'm going to explain you why we chose these 2 technologies. So here we can observe which is the current process that is followed in the workstation of tech services. As I told you earlier, it is a really simple process. Basically, the student arrives over there, he receives a turn, and then he has to wait some time to be attended by an agent of a specific area. There were 3 main issues that we identified in this process. First of them is that waiting times are really long. They vary between 30 minutes to 1 hour. The second issue we saw was that there are many unnecessary visits to the workstation. This is because many times students arrive over there with questions that could be easily, for example, be solved by a chatbot, and instead they have to wait long times to be attended by an agent. And the final issue that we identified was that the distribution of the staff in tech services is very inefficient. This because, for example, in tech services, there are certain periods of the calendar semester when students have questions and doubts about the specific areas. For example, in the beginning of the semester, they have doubts about the enrolling of courses, and in these times, tech services doesn't allocate its resources and its workforce in concordance with these needs of the students. So in response to these issues that we identified, we proposed certain changes in order to improve productivity in the workspace through the application of technologies of Industry 4.0. So here's where it comes the technologies that I had mentioned you earlier. The first of them is the artificial intelligence, which would be implemented via a chatbot that would look like this. This chatbot would be placed in the initial step of interaction with the student when they arrive to the workplace of tech services, and it would help solve common and frequent questions of students that can be answered without the need of having human interaction with an agent. This would be helpful because it would reduce the time of the process, the average time of the process, and it would make that there is a better flow of persons in the workplace as well as a lower workload for employees. The second technology that we plan to implement is the Industrial Internet of Things, which would also be incorporated into the chatbot. This technology in this workstation would basically consist of in gathering and collecting data from the interaction of the chatbot with students to make predictions of how to distribute staff in different times depending on the needs and the demand of the students. It is very important to clarify that we don't plan to leave aside employees in the implementation of these changes. We want to incorporate the human factor 4.0 to make these changes. So in the case of the industrial Internet of Things, which consists of how I told you earlier, that the chatbot will collect and gather data from the intervention with students, the chatbot will be mainly in charge of collecting that data, and employees of the workstations are the ones that are going to be mainly in charge of making predictions. In terms of the standards that we will comply with by applying this change, we have the standard 001, which looks for suitable conditions of facilities on the workplace and safety for all workers. Basically, this is going to be achieved by the changes because the workloads and the work and in general the work environment and work conditions for employees will improve as the implementation of the chatbot will reduce the time of the processes and will reduce workload as well as redistribute in an efficient way the staff so they have a better work environment and with less work to do.